There's a pretty big project in fourth grade. It's the research project. Normally it's done on some sort of geographical location to knock out a social studies standard. For this particular one, I would have them do it on their heritage, so they can pick where they're from and then do research and become experts. So down here, the purpose is to conduct research on a specific geographical location, so I would have them do a country, gaining general knowledge of that specific location's customs, culture, and heritage. And then they are to discover why that community or culture immigrated to the U.S. and how they did so. The process would be, for when I did this in elementary school, we had the encyclopedia books come in. So the teachers and the library would pull books, put them on a cart, and bring them to the classroom, and then that's how you would do your research. I watched this project unfold a couple years ago, and they did about 50-50, 50 with books, 50 with online resources. One class would go to the computer lab and do their research. The other class brought the carts in and had those carts available and the computers available for the students to research during their research time. And then the final project was a presentation, but they had to have a poster board to use as a visual aid, and they would present it to the classroom. Some of the big standards, as the social studies standards, the differences and similarities of cultures around the world, their diverse origins and histories and interactions with other cultures throughout time. So then you kind of pick up on the customs, how they interacted with each other, and how they interacted with each other and came to the U.S. There's a ton of language arts standards that you hit on this one. I kind of picked up on the main three. So conduct a short research project, explain events and procedures based on scientific, historical, or technical text, and interpret information presented visually, orally, or quantitatively. So graphs, charts, diagrams, etc. And so to kind of revamp this lesson or this project, it's a pretty good project, and students normally actually get really into it, especially when you say, this is your heritage and I want you to become an expert on it. They kind of really dive into it because they want to know about where they came from, or their culture, and all of that stuff. So to revamp this, what I would have them do is do most of the research online, but really kind of emphasize that it's not just Google search that you can use for your online resources. So, you could use the online encyclopedia, but also show them, movies, YouTube videos, podcasts. The opportunities for researching this are endless, especially online. And I would have this arranged prior to the project, but have their students find a pen pal from that country and communicate with them. There's multiple reasons for this. I'll get to that. But so one of the big things with they're going to communicate with their pen pal is to gain more knowledge and information about that culture and custom, from somebody who's living there and what they have learned in their classes. Then the final project has to be digital. There's a couple reasons for this. So one of the biggest reasons is when it's digital, I find that students they dive into something that is important to them. So whether that be iMovie, podcasts, prezzies, websites, and each student kind of picks this one format and really dives into it, really puts a lot of energy and effort into it. So that's one of the reasons I want it to be digital. The other one would be, before the student can present their digital format to my class, they must send it to their pen pal, and their pen pal kind of has the final say of, is this information correct? Is this information portrayed correctly? And kind of get some constructive criticism. This is what I would change, this is what I would do, or this isn't exactly true. And so they have to do that before they can present it to us as a class. And then, let's see here. So, the standards. I have it somewhere here. Okay. For the ISTE standards, this creativity and innovation. Before they did have to be pretty creative in their poster board, but some kids, they don't like the poster board. They're not interested in making a poster board pretty and coloring and on it and etc. So their creativity is really kind of opened up, and they can use a format that they like, and they have to be innovative. They have to learn to use some of the stuff that they might not have used before. Communication and collaboration. Previously, this project was done pretty much by yourself. You could find somebody who had the same country as you and bounce off ideas, but now they have to communicate with their pen pal. They have to collaborate with them. They have to decide how and when they're going to interact and communicate. Let's see. Research and information fluency. Obviously, since it's a research project, they did have to do some research. But one of the things with researching online is when you have the teacher or the librarian pull these books for you, you know that all of that research or all of that information is valid and reliable. So when you are on the computer, it's really up to you to decide, is this information correct? Is it reliable? Can I use it? Is it, can I use it as a primary source? Can I use it as a secondary source? So it really kind of opens the doors to educating them on the sources and the materials that they are facing when online. Critical thinking and problem solving, decision making. Previously, there was some of this, but I think with the communication and collaboration, you do have to think a little bit more critically of how you're going to do this. It's not, here's your book, research it, and write down the important information. You have to find your resources and decide how are you going to effectively relate this information to your peers. Digital citizenship, this one's huge because they need to understand etiquette. They need to understand how to safely communicate with their pen pal. So I think this would be a very good opportunity to talk about safety when communicating with others and being responsible. And then technology, operations, and concepts, I think that's kind of a given since before, some, it kind of depends who the teacher was, but your technology is tremendously increased for this assignment. I really do like kind of the updates to this assignment because I think before it was the 3 R's. Well, not so much arithmetic, but reading and writing. So, I read the books that were given to you, and then you wrote, and then you presented. Where now this goes more towards the 4 C's that we talked about. They have to be creative, they have to collaborate, they're communicating with others, and critical thinking. So I think this is a very good update to the research project. One thing that I think with the allowing them to have their digital format, I've seen it multiple times where when the second you open it up digitally and say, this is, the format in which you present this information is up to you. I feel like kids, they exceed my expectations a lot of times, which is hard because I do have very high expectations, but some of the websites and podcasts and videos that I've seen have just been above and beyond my expectations. So I think allowing this to kind of open up and let them communicate and decide on their format would really kind of bring this project to the next level, and not only bring it to the next level, but really have the students kind of put themselves into this project and really flourish, either whether that be finding research or communicating with their pen pal more than others, or the final format. So there's really multiple ways in which these students can exceed the expectations and learn a lot and gain valid information and knowledge to benefit kind of future projects, as well as gaining their background knowledge of where they're from. So.